This episode is sponsored by The Break Room, downtown's best spot for a hot lunch every business day.
On this episode, upcoming events from Helping Hands Humane Society, Old Prairie Town, December People for United Way, and Positive Connections, and District 1 Councilperson Karen Hiller discussing the Heartland Park situation.
Welcome back to Talk About Topeka, and today we have Helping Hands Humane Society, but there's no animals here.
That's just smart.
Are you guys the animals?
I mean, we are animals.
No, you are animals, technically.
We're not up for adoption.
Not up for adoption. Okay, we have Emmy Grease, and we also have Roger Montgomery from Helping Hands Humane Society. Thanks so much for hanging out with us today.
Thanks for having us.
So tell us a little bit. You have a big event that's coming up. It's the Holiday Farmers Market and Bazaar. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about that. Is this the first year you've done it?
Yes, this is our first time, and it was really Roger's brainchild, so I'll let him explain it to you.
Okay.
We started out with the idea for a fundraiser. Last year they did a big garage sale, and the girls that did the garage sale wore themselves out. Oh. It was a good fundraiser, but I said, a bazaar and farmer's market might be easier. You get your money from the vendors, and then they have to keep track of everything else once it starts. Mm-hmm. And so I thought that'd be a lot easier. And in a lot of ways it is, and in some ways it's not.
Yeah, of course.
We're learning. This is our first one, and we've had a really good response. We've got over 40 vendors coming. Excellent. We have everything from home-baked cookies and pies to dresses and jewelry and cosmetics and woodworking and homemade clocks and a lot of other really cool stuff that we're going to have there.
So is this going to be right in the parking lot, right off of 21st?
It's going to be in the west end of the building in the training area.
Oh, it also puts your animals front and center so you can adopt.
Yep, there's a nice little hallway that goes straight from the training room to the adoption side, so we're going to encourage people to go back and forth all day, check out the animals, check out the vendors, and we're going to have food available too, so people can plan to have lunch there, and proceeds from that are going to Helping Hands, so you can eat delicious food and support the shelter at the same time.
Yeah.
Well, the farmer's market, it's late in the year, so there won't be much fresh produce, but the ones that I've attended in the past have got several people that do baked goods that are made from organic, locally grown produce. So apple pies, pumpkin pies, little pastries, cookies, candies.
So you can take them to Thanksgiving.
That's right.
And say you made it.
That's right. We thought, it's a good time of year, the weekend before Thanksgiving, you can get those home-baked products, and they're home-baked, just not in your home.
Yes.
And put them on your Thanksgiving table. You've got something delicious and locally made, and you don't have to worry about going to the grocery store and having somebody discover the label on the bottom of your pan. But you still have delicious things on your table, and then we're the Saturday before Black Friday.
Yeah.
So you can come and get handmade gifts and great stocking stuffers. We're going to have things there that run everywhere from $5 to probably $500. And everything in between. So it's a good place to shop.
Thank you, and folks, get out there to the Helping Hands Humane Society's Bazaar happening on November 22nd.
Alrighty. We'll be back again in just a few minutes here on the Big Talker KMAJ 1440.
John Bell, you're from Old Prairie Town. How we doing?
Doing good. Things are great. We're rocking and rolling right now. We're getting ready for the big Christmas, our holiday season. So, we got some big upcoming events that we're here to talk about. And
so this is actually a part of Shawnee County Parks and Rec.
Yes, Old Prairie Town is under the Parks and Recreation, Shawnee County Parks and Recreation umbrella. So
Old Prairie Town's kind of, in a very historic kind of neighborhood, kind of corner of the Topeka area. A lot of folks that I talk to, they're like, I didn't know Old Prairie Town was there. And I say, are you serious? Like, how could you not know?
Everyone gets their senior pictures, their wedding pictures. They have receptions there. They have historical events.
And it's a great place to go. And I mean, you've got the drugstore. You've got all the little things happening. And there's something happening. What happens every Christmas season that you do out there. And I've done it a couple of years. Tell us about your big event for Christmas.
Sure. Our big event. It's a really neat. It's unique. The experience at Old Prairie Town is going to differ from many of the other places. It's just the experience is just such a special special atmosphere. What the event that we're talking about is Old Time Holiday Happenings. We do it the first 2 weekends in December, so it's Friday, Saturday, Friday, Saturday. It's $30 per person. The dinners do typically fill up, and the max is 72 people per person or per night.
Yeah.
And so we do fill up. So it's kind of first come, first serve. We do have some spots open, still available. It's a really elegant night. The doors open at 6. We start serving dinner at 6:30. We have live music that goes on while the guests are eating. And then about 7:30, we release everybody to wander the park. And we have activities in the park. And all the buildings have something going on. We have cookies and cider in the cabin, ice cream and soda fountain treats in the drugstore. We have a school marm that comes in and kind of recreates an old-fashioned school lesson in the schoolhouse. And we have the depot. We get the hand car out and we do a hand car ride. So it's really special. It's a lot of guests that come are repeat customers. Once they come, they just keep coming back because they love it so much. It kind of kicks off the holiday season for
And the
those.
meal is really fantastic as well. I mean, it's just the whole evening is a great evening out, and you get to see all those historic buildings. It's all decked out for Christmas, and it's just spectacular.
But this is
Let's
amazing.
go down there and we'll get a shake or something.
I know, seriously. Like, I want to go right now.
Yeah, you need to.
Yes.
The brown bread ice cream is absolutely.
Yeah.
It's
What
the
I'm a
best.
little upset
good
about
stuff.
is the fact that you didn't bring some
I
with
know.
you.
I should.
You know, you failed. This was a failed interview, basically.
The next time I'm on the show,
next
I
time
will
it's-
bring
it's all
some
about
ice
the
cream.
brown
No,
bread
you
ice
have my
you
word.
don't need to hear.
You have my word.
You're the best. Thank you so much, John Bell. You're the Recreation Program Supervisor
That's correct. Yeah.
at Old Prairie Town, and of course, run some stuff at Gage doing the train
That's
and the
right.
carousel.
I have the
That's
best
amazing.
job. Best job in Parks and Recreation.
We have a whole load of stuff on here. We're going to chit chat about it. I think this guy has some of the answers. Do you?
I do, and
do.
we'll work our way through that. So,
Yes,
yeah.
yes. Well, Al Hammonds is here with us for United Rocks.
Correct.
Give us a little recap about what this is.
Okay, United Rocks, what it is that you've got a guy from Boston, the rock band Boston, Sammy Hagar's drummer, the Tubes keyboard player, and a guy I worked with Ambrosia and Emerson, Lake and Palmer, if you go back that far.
You sound like a rock fanatic.
You know, kind of have to promote this.
Yes.
I've been living Christmas for the last 6 months.
It was very nice of you to bring this guitar as a gift from
Yes,
me.
it was very
I would like to
nice.
thank you for that.
Yeah, we
really.
understand you're going to play the next segment and you're going to sing, right? Santa Claus is coming to town.
This thing is beautiful.
Yeah, that's what we're going to play. Yes, this is from Supersonic Music, but this is actually signed.
Yeah, Gary Peel from Boston autographed it. The rest of the band will autograph it. We're kind of figuring out what we're going to do. We may do a little bit of promotion, so check out our website to see if this is going to be a giveaway.
Okay, because that is one beautiful guitar, and I've seen a lot of guitars in my lifetime.
Yeah, this is the brand of guitar that, a Charvel guitar that Gary used to play. Gary Peel used to play back when he started.
Yeah, well, that's really cool. Well, there's going to be a big Christmas event,
Yes.
a big concert that's going on. Tell us a little more about that.
Yeah, the band, you know, of course, if you're with Boston, Greg Kinn, Sammy Hagar, or whatever, you don't really need to go out and do much. But so the guys on the off season, which, you know, they're not playing the big arenas, they get together and they've created this band called December People. And the great thing about December People, it's about hunger awareness. And so they'll go out and play concerts, you know, East Coast, West Coast. They haven't done anything in the central United States yet, and we get it on November 22nd. But they do that to raise food for food banks. And Project Topeka is the food bank that we selected, United Way selected for this. But the really cool news I tell you about is they did their kickoff show in Monterey, California, Saturday night, sold out crowd.
Wow.
So Topeka has that type of band that sells out, that it continues to sell out, coming. So go get your tickets, guys, because it's an amazing event.
Okay, so how can people get their tickets? I know you've told us last time, but
Right.
we need to remember.
Well, you can do it 3 ways, actually. United Way has some select tickets at our office, so you can come into our office. We have the $28 and some tickets, and then the VIP tickets, which are the $60 tickets. The VIP tickets actually get you to meet the band first at the end of the evening, so it's kind of a neat little deal. If you're a Boston or the Tubes fan or anything, bring your albums, autograph it. Make sure your iPhone's charged so you can get some pictures with that. That's one way at our office. The second way, go down to TPAC. We encourage you to do either at our office or at TPAC, because the third way, Ticketmaster, everyone's bought on Ticketmaster, and you get some pretty good charges that you might not need to get.
The fees,
Yeah, you get the extra fees and the
Yeah.
extra things that go along with it.
That's right. So we'd encourage you to go to TPAC or come to ours and use that ticket fee that you would have for Ticketmaster to go out and buy some food and bring some food and then donate it at the door there, so that way we can give back to Project Topeka and help the Topeka
Okay,
community.
so when people get their tickets, they don't necessarily have to bring food. Like, what's the drive to bring the food? How does that work?
Yeah, well, we just hope that you
Oh, I
will.
know. Okay, well, I
So,
didn't know. Okay,
It's just, so it's a we're encouraging everybody to bring 2 or 3 cans or some
I didn't know if it
non-perishable
got
food.
money off of the ticket or how it works.
The band doesn't really need to do that, so we kind of went off of what their manager and everything wanted us to do, and so we selected, we just said, okay, this is about hunger awareness, so bring some food. See a great show, see something that hasn't been in the Midwest.
You're the man
It
bringing
is.
all these guys here.
This is exhausting, and I hope everybody comes, and it has because it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's amazing what goes into this, and it's amazing to see these guys engaged at the level, because I've worked for celebrities in the past, and it's very hard to see a group of individuals dedicating and wanting to do it, and they want to do it for us here.
Yeah.
That's unusual.
Yeah.
So it's unusual, so don't miss it.
But you want to take it, and you also want to be able to do your part to help make it better too.
Exactly. And we're talking to United Way Silicon Valley, United Way San Francisco. This is a launch of bigger and better things. So we hope next year they'll have a 50-city show, and it launches right here from Topeka, Kansas.
That's awesome.
Topeka, Kansas.
It's time.
Right here.
Let's do it.
There we go.
So check out the guitar.
Yeah, it is
Yes.
so beautiful.
So we're really still kind of putting the
I
finishing
don't know what to
touches
do
on what
with
we're
it.
doing
I
with
just
it. Yeah.
touch it. I have no
She's a
idea how to
hand
play
model
it.
He's
here.
going to play and you can sing.
Yeah, but that came from Supersonic Music too, so very, very cool.
Yeah, thanks, Derek, for helping us with that.
Yes, very cool. Well, thank you so much, Al Hammond of Hammonds from the United Way, and of course, a classic rock Christmas that is going on November 22nd.
We certainly appreciate all your work to bring us this very unique opportunity.
Well, thank you for letting me come on and talk about it. Appreciate that.
You're
Thank you. In the studio is Debbie Gilbo with Positive Connections. How you doing, Debbie?
Good. How about you?
Doing great. We have got, you've been on the show several times before. Always a pleasure to have you here, but we have something coming up on December 1st that you'd like to talk about.
Right.
Tell us about it.
Well, December 1st is World AIDS Day. It is observed over the entire world. It was established in 1988 to bring attention and awareness to the AIDS pandemic. And so we have been, for the last 6 years, doing an interfaith service with several different congregations, and it kind of moves from congregation to congregation each year. But we'll be doing an observance on December 1st, as well as a candlelight memorial of those in our community and people that we know here in our community that have passed on and died from AIDS-related illnesses. So.
But it's so important to bring attention to something like this, because some people just think that's never going to happen to me. That's not even in my frame of existence.
Absolutely.
But we need to talk about it.
We do, and it's a tough discussion to have, especially I think, I've said before, we really need to be educating our youth. It's a very, very tough discussion for parents to have with their kids. You never want to think about your kids doing things that might put them at risk, but in reality they do. And we are seeing a very big increase, I would say, in young people who are becoming infected, and that's really concerning to me here in the Topeka area.
As we talk about World AIDS Day and make sure that folks put that on their calendars, just to be aware of it, December 1st, we're not only talking about the preventing the transmission, and of course that's very important for people to be aware, but it's also a time to recognize and to remember some of the, one of the reports I saw from 2011 from the CDC was that 600,000 Americans had died of HIV. So knowing that and just to have a little bit of respect that day is part of the day as well.
We part of the service that we do is a candlelight memorial, and we have a list of about 12, 13 pages of names of people who have either, are family members of people in our community or have lived in our community, or someone wants to remember them. And that's part of the service that we do. We're really excited about the interfaith service because we have about 7 or 8 different congregations from different faiths that are coming together. This year it will be at Temple Beth Shalom. And so we kind of move it every year from place to place and then bring different faiths together to really recognize and remember and bring awareness. We usually have a speaker that's an HIV positive individual talking about living with HIV. And you know, people are still dying with HIV or AIDS related illnesses. And that's important to remember, that this is, while it's treatable, it's still a very dangerous illness. You know, it will still kill you eventually.
But, and it really just goes to say, you know, that with positive connections, you know, people do have a chance. They have a chance to get up on top of these, you know, conditions and take care of them and keep themselves safe. And you really do provide a lot.
We do, and the, you know, one of the evidence has shown that the earlier you find out if you have an infection, the earlier you find that out, the earlier you get into treatment, the longer you're healthy, and absolutely the less risk you have of transmitting it onto someone else. So we kind of take the two-pronged approach with working with people who are HIV positive to keep them into treatment, but then also doing a lot of the education and testing to keep people hopefully uninfected.
Debbie, Positive Connections is on Facebook, and you have a website as well.
Yes, we do.
What's the address?
www.pcneks.org. So Positive Connections of Northeast Kansas.
PCNEKS.org. I can screw it up for you. How about that? I will screw it up. No, but I think this is wonderful. World AIDS Day is going on December 1st, and we can find all that information with your links.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Thanks, Debbie.
Thank you so much.
Sitting next to me is Karen Hiller. You might be saying, well, there was a court ruling finally on the decision about the petition and all, and this is what it said. Topeka, Kansas, City Manager Jim Colson issued a statement in response to the decision from Judge Larry Hendricks regarding the Heartland Park petition. On Wednesday, November 12th, Judge Hendricks ruled that the petition is invalid as a matter of law. The decision is attached. The City of Topeka respects the judicial process and the decisions of Judge Hendricks. Colson said, we plan to take the issue back to the governing body for further discussion at the next scheduled meeting. Okay, so what's the deal with Heartland Park? Let's start out with that.
I think, thanks for reading that, Chris. We need to start at the beginning. What was progressively clear was that people didn't understand what the problem was and what we were trying to do.
I was one of those.
And in very simple terms, the city owes $10 million on Heartland Park. And if Heartland Park fails and there's nothing to continue that activity, we will very likely, you know, if the city can't get somebody else to continue racing or some alternate economic development type activity, we are very much at risk of losing racing and any other economic development in South Topeka, entertainment style economic development, indefinitely. Well, because if there's no action, there's no star bonds, we owe money.
It sits there and we owe money.
It's a future debt of $10 million, so roughly $1 million a year for 10 years. It's actually be closer to $1.2 million a year for 10 years on nothing.
So just clarify this for me. Is the city planning to buy Heartland Park?
City owns Heartland Park. That's been a misconception. I think it was said that way just to make it simple, but this is a complicated legal partnership. And so the partnership had the city owning Heartland Park, but had given what they call reversionary interest to Ray Irwin and Jayhawk Racing. That gave him enough legal stake in the property that he could borrow money and mortgage it to do the improvements, which he did, thereby incurring debt. But the city still owned it, but the reversionary clause said that if at any moment he wanted to exercise that, it became his. So even though the city owns it today, he could take it at any time, at which point the city would own it, so the city would have no control over what happened during the bankruptcy and foreclosure proceedings, and no way to shepherd that basically failed business into something new and protect the investment that the taxpayers had made, as well as the future of activities in South Topeka on that land. And those star bonds themselves were structured so that the city only paid about $800,000 a year in the first 10 years of them, and that's about to then jump up. There was an assumption that the business would grow. So there's a balloon in that goes to $1.2 million a year in 2016 for the last 10 years of the bonds.
Wow.
So that's where the 1.2 comes from.
Yeah.
And whereas when we paid the when we had the $800,000 a year payment, it's been very public that we weren't getting enough from that star bond district and from the operation. We were only getting about $200,000 back. So it's been netting a cost to the taxpayers of Topeka, $600,000 a year. If it goes to $1.2 million and the racetrack has folded, that entire $1.2 million a year for 10 years is going to be on the taxpayers. And that really concerned all of us.
Yeah. And so with that much on the line for the taxpayers, why weren't they invited to vote on this?
Because this has to do with bonds that have already been issued and the restructuring of a financial agreement. You can see why you can't put that. Typically, that's not out for a vote. I mean, legally. People can read through the details of the court opinion because there were a lot of different reasons that the judge was looking at. That will be available. If it's not already, it'll be available publicly. For obvious reasons, that has to be done by the governing body and done in a timely manner. And it's important that voters can't just change their minds, or the city would never be able to borrow money for anything.
Yeah.
With the problem being as complicated as it was, and the proposed solution being as complicated as it was, that the city manager and his staff chose to try and explain the solution. Which they did. Some people didn't like it with the buyout, but somehow we failed to make it real clear what the problem was so that people could start at the beginning where the city manager and the council had been to look at a solution. People have had all kinds of questions about whether racing is still viable, whether somebody really, making sure that if we do sell it or have a managing partner, that we're real clear, that we ask them, we set some thresholds for what we want that thing to look like in 5 years, how much business we want to see chunking through there. And we ask them what their vision is, where they would take it in 10. We were going to do that over the last 4 months and didn't get to it because we've been churning about this petition.
Yeah.
We needed to do that kind of work to make sure that the proposal that we had in August would work. So we need to do that now. And then, of course, if somebody has a better idea, we need to hear that now too, because what we need is a solution. And if we need to go back and better define the problem for everyone, and I think we do, and I thank you so much for taking the time yourself.
No, please, that's what we're here for.
We've just got to, I don't have a problem tearing anything to shreds with questions, ideas, and what ifs. Everybody that I've gone through it with, as you and I talked about, except to protect the taxpayers, I don't otherwise have a dog in the fight, but protecting the taxpayers and having thriving economic development in South Topeka is really important to me. And so I look at it in terms of, okay, what if we did cancel that contract? What are the chances we would protect the taxpayers and have thriving economic development in South Topeka? And it didn't look good.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, if perhaps the idea that the city managing it and carrying it forward, if somehow we were overconfident on that and people want to shred that, we need to do that right now in a constructive way and with a better idea.
Yeah. Thank you for being here to communicate. I really do appreciate that. And anytime you have something to explain, and any of our council folks, if they'd like to come on the show, we'd welcome them to come here so that we can help get the word out, and we certainly appreciate it. Thank you, Karen Hiller.
You're welcome.
Topeka City Council District 1, we certainly appreciate you here.
Visit talkabouttopeka.com to see Karen Hiller and Chris discuss the Heartland Park petition. While you're there, listen to full interviews with all the other guests this week, like reoccurring favorites Carice Mapes and Deb Beisel. And keep talking about Topeka.